Hello.
Hey, folks.
Give it a few minutes while everyone joins.
Have you guys seen the new caveman cloud skill? That's hilarious. Check it out. Search for caveman skill. It supposedly saves around 60% of your output tokens.
Wow. I thought it was going to be a April Fool's grub brain sort of joke.
It's not far off.
It could be. I don't know. Did it went out in April Fools? I don't know.
If you haven't seen it, the grub brain developer.
Yep.
Folks were talking about how, like, in the future, all the code would be raw and, like, all the training data would be garbage for LLMs. Now I feel like the training data is going to be all, like, caveman speak, and, like, we're just going to regress to the Stone Age.
My life feels so good if I don't have an LLM telling me how great an idea that was every 2 seconds.
I do believe James will be here in just a minute. He was meeting with Barton after our maintainers triage call. It looks like Igor said he would be here, but we're getting close to 5 minutes in.
All right. Well, let me start sharing my screen. Which screen am I sharing right now? Stop sharing. Loop. Might have to rejoin, I guess. Be right back.
Lost audio, Yusuf.
Lord of mercy.
Oh, here it comes.
That's your back.
Yours just does a slow start.
Okay, yeah, I just need to speak continuously for a long period of time in order for
there you are.
to acclimate to what I'm saying, and as I speak, it should get better. Okay. Okay, this is the agenda that I slapped together. Didn't have a lot to throw in here. Anyone have additional things we want to add to the agenda before we get started?
I have 2 items just to add on the end. One is AI usage policy. I'll discuss that a little bit more when we come up. And the second one, which I think Christian told me to remember about, is a shorter development cycle. Is that right, Christian?
Yep. Yeah, so we're potentially aiming for September for 113. That way we more closely line up with the Go release cycle, and we'll have a longer support period for supported Go versions. this matches up with other policy discussions we've had and have documented over the past couple months.
Okay. I'm not very good at using this whole web view thingamajig, so I will. Igor isn't here. Where is he? It's not.
Nope.
But we've got everyone else. Yeah. Okay. So this is our agenda for the day, and then we can add ad hoc stuff at the end. Things to discuss. First, we need to address resolution of previous action items. Oh, and by the way, these are the reminders of yesterday's notes. James, can you speak to resolution of those action items before we get started?
Yeah, I can talk about both of them. So as part of looking into moving towards incubating in OpenTofu, I was looking at the application of what we have to do, and we have to prove that we are doing public meetings and that we are progressing on them. And having notes and videos is very helpful, and a lot of projects are doing this. So I think we should still carry on making notes because they act as proof and will help us with our incubating application. However, both our notes and our video conferencing are done kind of outside of the CNCF. I had to look at some other projects and what they're doing. And what the CNCF prefers is that we use their meeting calendar, the LFX Zoom system. We should investigate. And I've seen some people are using that and then using that to automate the uploads of their meetings to YouTube as well. So if people are happy with us changing systems, I will put in some tickets to the CNCF and we can discuss moving across. Or do people love Google Meet and a random Git repo?
I do like the meeting notes in a public place. Maybe we can automate syncing them back to the Git repo. But
yeah,
as far as Zoom versus Meet, I mean, we all love how stable and functional Google Meet is. So I'll shed a tear leaving it.
Okay, I'll go and investigate, and I'll put together a plan in Slack for what we can do. But yes, I think if we move more towards the CNCF ecosystem for these things, it will be better for us. Christian heads up for the maintainers. We should probably also move to their calendar for our public weekly meetings, open office hours.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Cool. Christian had a request last time that we share any features that have been requested from OpenTofu. These are the two that came to mind immediately. This is in the context of maintaining TerraGrunt. Folks really want the ability to specify inputs as unknown, such that you don't have to mock outputs or have like well-formed outputs, and don't have useless safe plans that have mocked inputs in them. That's one thing that we've heard would be very nice if OpenTofu could support that. There's also, I think just yesterday, another comment came in that folks are would prefer the ability to use cache providers without even if they don't have a lock file. And I've also heard quite a bit the ability to programmatically interface with OpenTofu. So the ability to make a gRPC call or something to OpenTofu or whatever other transport method we prefer to avoid limitations on the CLI.
So just taking the last point first, because my stack got smashed partway through. Andre's currently working on rebuilding a lot of our CLI infrastructure. It is a tangled web of funk that's conglomerated over the past 10 years. So hopefully doing something like that will be easier in the future. I think our goal for 1.13 is to finish the refactoring that's ongoing finish at least a large portion of that cleanup. But it's for what should be a relatively simple CLI layer, there's a lot of twisted nastiness that's going to be interesting to fully detangle before we can consider something like that. But we are doing, I guess we're eating our vegetables before we can do something like that. I've been using I'm sorry for all the metaphors, and especially for the people who are not native English speakers. It's probably a little extra confusing. I'm gonna try to stop doing that.
Did you want to address all of Yusuf's things, or do you want to just take it on as a list and we do it outside of the meeting? Like, is this something we pass over to the maintainers? How did you want to deal with this as a maintainer, Christian, who asked for this?
Yeah, I think we maybe have a quick discussion here and then pass the information off to the maintainers. That way people can chat, like, if Roger, you can say, yes, 1 and 3 are like really important to the folks I've been talking to or are on as well. Just to give an idea of, so part of the reason I'm asking this is we get feedback from conferences, we get feedback from, I mean, I see the tacos as some of our best vectors for random and direct feedback from thousands of customers. And then we also have our GitHub issues. And what we try to do as maintainers is pull all of that together into a comprehensive, this is what we should be working on list. So this is kind of that last third of information that the maintainers try to use to pull that together.
Makes sense. Can I add my wish list from my side, from both hearing things from Space customers, but also at FOSDEM and KubeCon? I've been hearing a little bit more chatter here and there about implementing something like search or query, or the ability to bring in brownfield resources, unmanaged resources. I think Yaron has a solution for this at M0 now with merging with Cloud Query. But we don't have a solution for that elsewhere. And I think OpenTofu users should have something built in. I was going to also mention unknown values as inputs. It's something that I hear a lot from I think all of the tacos would benefit from. And programmatic interaction. I'd like to add an extra point. I wasn't going to say programmatic interaction in the same way Yusuf did, but I think people are looking for tools and abilities, especially since StateGraph has been on the scene and shouting a lot on LinkedIn lately about finding a way to help people either programmatically or interactively break up or refactor their modules or stacks or units. So the ability to maybe move things out of projects or between projects and such items. Which issue is this that you've linked 2222, Christian?
This is actually something I was just thinking about. I'm going to be spending some hackathon time in the next couple of weeks. Maybe this could be a fun thing to play around with.
Yeah. So I don't hear anybody on my side asking for programmatic access through things like RPC, but I know that Terraform has this. So I assume there's a market for it, but I have been hearing for programmatic refactoring.
Jeez, what is happening?
I would echo pretty much all of that. I would say that we've not been asked for programmatic access directly, but a lot of it we've been given effectively that could be completed a lot easier or simpler with that, as opposed to trying to hack something in around the system. So I haven't heard customers asking for it directly, but effectively, yes. The only other is, and I know this comes up time and time again, a simple migration tool. So I know we've got migration laid out as here's a simple process to go do, but if it was some sort of even if it was like a simple yep, just press this button, it will go off and kind of it'll shout whenever there's any interrupts, any of the kind of steps that we've called out. That's definitely something that's come up time and time again.
This is migrating from BUSL Terraform.
Yes. Okay. And it's become more and more. Initially, it's like, oh, it's fine, completely drop in. And even now, we're like, it's drop in, but you might run into something. And that is then kind of making people set up all sorts of crazy guardrails around things. So if there's some sort of system that we could at least put in place, or command we could put in place, that would be.
Yeah, I often hear the story now of people who are sat on Terraform 1.5.7 and they are not migrating because they've got to convince their managers and they don't have a report to go and convince their manager about how easy it is to move. Or they just deprioritize.
I'm hearing the other people who've sit above a million different teams who've all upgraded just because they're like, yeah, I'll stay on the latest. And then they've no idea if they actually implemented anything at the code level. 99% sure they hadn't, but yeah. So
I can share that just today, I learned of somebody who had migrated from 1.5.7 to OpenTofu, and the reason they were holding off on migrating is they had no idea how simple it was. So I feel like having more tools that just say, like, run this to check if it's a no-brainer for you to switch to OpenTofu, or this command will do it for you, even if it's not doing anything impressive, just gives people more and more confidence that they can do it without significant work.
That's fair. Yep. And functionally speaking, the hard part's coming up with the process. The easy part should be encoding it, and just making sure like we build in the right guardrails. But from a development time point of view, implementing something like that should be relatively quick. It's figuring out what the generic advice and guardrails we recommend for everyone would be.
Yaron, is there anything from M0 that they would like in 1.13 or think should be prioritized?
Yeah, I have to admit that my focus since joining this committee wasn't mainly on OpenTofu, but I'm in the loop now, so I'll try to start collecting these requests from our customers. I do want to update it. We have a major prospect, like a huge company that asked us about OpenTofu and wanted to know a bit about how easy it would be to migrate to OpenTofu. Yeah, that's the only thing I heard recently. We told them that we will kind of assist them throughout that request, but it's still a bit early. I think it will take place in the next few weeks. Yeah, but I was under the impression that it's supposed to be straightforward. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it boils down to make sure you're not on Terraform 0.12, which some people still are. Back up your state file. Make sure you have a backup of your state file. Make sure that there's no drifted changes. Run plan, run apply. Check in your updated lock file. You should be good to go. And we've got effectively those instructions on the website, but people don't believe us when we say it's that easy. The only issue is if you're using something like Terraform Actions, which is something OpenTofu hasn't added yet. And given that you're relatively new, have you heard of cani.tf?
Come again? No, I haven't heard it.
I'll put it in the chat. Thank you, James. That's a community maintained. Here's features that are available in one versus the other in what version. So if someone is on like, oh, I'm on this recent version of Terraform, you can then ask, are you using this feature that OpenTofu doesn't support? Or if someone's migrating back, you can say, or if someone's on the fence, you can say, well, you might not want to use these new features because that is something that doesn't have full compatibility one versus the other. Though I will say, Terraform just added support for early evaluation, which is one of the first differentiating pieces of OpenTofu. And they added it very, like, as far as I can tell, it functions very similarly to what we have. So we now have a couple examples of Terraform adding OpenTofu functionality for compatibility, which is always a good sign that we're building the right thing.
Great to hear, and that noted about the CanITF. I will use it from now on. But I gotta admit that I think that even if it's simple and straightforward, I do think from a mercantile, having it out there, just the fact that there is some sort of a tool can be like a move that even if it doesn't do anything, I think it has some, even just the fact that they know that there's something out there that that does it for them, then I suggest, yeah, I mean, I'm really, I really think that it could be valuable.
I think that's a
Cool.
good idea. Personally, I've maintained this separately from everything OpenTofu and SpaceX. I'll share a link in the chat to a repo I maintain, Yantrio/Terraform to OpenTofu skill on GitHub. If you're happy accepting AI generated stuff that I've hardly reviewed, it's a Claude skill that you can go and use, and people can run it against their repos. It will tell them if they're using Terraform specific features, how they can migrate across to OpenTofu. It also tells them if they want to make sure that no one can run Terraform. There's some example scripts about how people can run OpenTofu configuration that works in OpenTofu but doesn't run in Terraform, which we've had some people ask for. So
I believe I shared that like a customer specifically asked for that ability. So at Groundwork, we've had a customer that's wanted to enforce that. So thank you for doing that.
Martin recently added a language block, which is we're starting to move things out of the Terraform block. There's an RFC that goes into the detail there, but that if you add that to a .tf file, as far as I know, Terraform will not accept it and will dump out. But it also allows you to explicitly say some of that information.
I actually think I need to update the guide because I think I was using early evaluation for something specifically to force it to break in Terraform. So, yeah.
I guess we should bear in mind that at some point, Terraform could decide to support tofu configuration files. So,
yep,
probably good to have something explicit.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Next thing on the agenda, keep us moving. We got the AI usage policy.
Yeah, so behind the scenes, I've been writing up an AI usage policy for developers using AI tooling to work on OpenTofu projects. I have categorized our repos into 3 categories. One is category A, where we have a repo that we have forked and then HashiCorp carried on with BUSL. So this is like our OpenTofu core. We have category B, where we have forked, but HashiCorp kept an MPL license, which is quite a lot of our like library repos, VS Code plugin, etc. Yusuf, you can read back in the notes if you don't want to keep notes up to date as we go. We'll watch the video later. And then there's category C, which is we have fully greenfield things, such as our registry and registry UI. And I've been categorizing those repos and different actions that we should do. And it's kind of boiled down to the idea that we will allow AI development only using GitHub Copilot provided to us by the Linux Foundation, because that gives us legal identity. And only only maintainers will be able to do this. So this means we do not accept public AI contributions still, because we don't know if they have just taken it directly from Terraform, or another unlicensed, licensed incompatible repo. And it means that we try and put a policy in place on every repository. We are 90% through writing this policy as maintainers, and we're nitpicking now in the final phases. I will send it to the TSC for a final round of approval before we put it in place, if that's okay with everybody. Roger.
Just because I might have misheard. That is primarily around the fork which went on to be BUSL, or generically across all 3.
I think we have the same solution, I think, for all 3 of these repos. But okay. I wanted to highlight the categorization of the repos, because I think they may drift slightly over time, right? The solution that we accept.
You stopped me, but I got confused and I don't remember what the categories are. So category A was OpenTofu MPL license stuff that
Hashi kept as MPL.
B is...
Sorry, no, right. So category A is We forked, Hashi moved it to BUSL.
Correct.
You've got that right. Category B is we forked and it's still MPL on the Hashi side.
Okay.
Category C, Hashi doesn't have a similar thing. No one does.
Okay. Sorry. Helps me to understand the conversation.
Right. So the three different categories need to be treated differently. But to simplify things to get started, because we're going to iterate on this process, we are implementing a very cut down rule that covers all three of those categories, which is only maintainers have access to this. We have to have 2 humans who approve this. We do not allow for fully autonomous AI agents. We just allow for humans being assisted by AI. So I think we allow things like Claude Code, but a human has to be driving it. But we don't allow things like Code Rabbit to do PR reviews for now, for example. And we're just making sure it's like under a lot of scrutiny and strictness. The main thing that we are worried about today is we think the indemnity will cover us. The conversation we've been having as maintainers is making sure we maintain prompts good enough that the LLM's first solution isn't let's clone the Terraform repo and see what they did. Which we know we can prompt around it, but we can't fully guarantee it. So that's why we still need humans in the loop and watching what's happening. So that's where we're like finalizing those final parts and just writing it down. So I wanted to give you all a heads up. I will send it out once we have it in the next few days for final approval from the TSC. Christian, did I cover everything?
I believe so.
Maintainers only.
Yep, it is an
Only
internal
using one.
repository.
Sorry, go on. I spoke over.
I'm just saying for now, this is being reviewed as a pull request in an internal repository so we can gather feedback and iterate. And eventually we're looking at using automated tooling to make sure stuff stays in sync like this across all our repos.
Yeah. We want to write the policy once and then have a tool that fans it out to every repository everywhere. Because we are getting a lot of unsolicited AI code. We're getting more and more every week. Like the number is a linear trend and we need to get ahead of it.
But we're also seeing situations where people are using it as potentially for translation, where their first language might not be English. And they see most of the maintainers working in English, so they might it's sometimes hard to tell what's an LLM comment versus what's someone who's had what they're trying to say translated and then just posted it full of EM dashes and raised all of our red flags. So just having that policy clear.
Cool.
Yeah. I think we had some interesting conversations of do we accept today? So when we say that we don't accept AI generated code, do today we accept an AI generated RFC? And there was some questions about it. So we were like, right, we need to get a policy in place as soon as possible to just clarify this. So that's where we're at.
Cool. Any last thoughts before we move on to our next topic? James, you want a shorter dev cycle? We
discussed recently that we want to try and align our releases with the Golang releases because that gives us the longest amount of time for us to be covered by CVEs for our releases, and it works out really well for us for security reasons for all our patches. So this is a heads up that whilst we did ask for feedback on the 1.13 and what we think people should add, we're just giving people a heads up that this may be like a shorter release cycle because we're going to be from May to September. I think that was everything, right, Christian? We just wanted to give people a heads up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then from there on, we will try and do a release every 6 months. I don't want to say that too much. Is that right, Christian? 6 months? Yeah, that's when the Go release is done.
Yeah, effectively following the Go release. Like right now, we have, so there were a bunch of Go CVEs found. We've put out a statement, a security advisory for our older versions that are still technically under support as of today. But we can't upgrade the Go version without dropping support for certain architectures and platforms. So this is why we're trying to keep that aligned as much as possible, so we can make our fully qualified support window as large as possible for the people using OpenTofu.
Cool. Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
One question, is that then, is the idea then that our support model would follow the same as Go? Or is this just to make our lives easier from a security point of view?
I think it does mean that we end up with the same support model as Google. I think we discussed this in the past, and I believe that Martin wrote up an RFC about this, which we can find and attach to the notes and send over to you.
Yep.
I'll find it now.
It sounds familiar. That's why I was asking. I remember a discussion around it about whether it was just like security patches or full support, whatever that might mean. So
I think the reasoning behind it is if we say we support the 4 latest versions or something like that, and then we're out of sync with the Go runtime release, there could be a CVE that comes out that we would have to then go and maintain our own version of the Go runtime that it has that monkey patched in, and we don't want to do that.
Yep, just clarity. Thanks.
Okay. Anything that wasn't planned that we want to discuss?
Excuse me. I'm going to be around for the next TSC meeting, but I'm going to miss the one after that. So that would be on the 12th. I won't be here.
Okay.
Cool. Do we have any action items that we want to track for next time? I don't think so.
No.
The CNCF notes and video, possibly.
Oh yeah, that's an action item for me to go and create some service tickets and talk to admins about that.
Okay. If you have anything else, I will figure out how to commit things in this UI and then push it up after this call.
I can show you. You should be able to just type in a commit message on the left and then hit commit now.
Am I in the right thingamajig? Is it this?
I'm going to stop the recording.
Maybe there's multiple.
Okay. Stop the recording, I guess.
Yeah.